And good afternoon. Welcome to the Institute of Christian and Masonic Studies. I am Reverend Leroy Stewart Sr. I am the president and founder. And my CEO, of course, my son, Leroy David Alvin Stewart Jr., 33rd degree Knights Templar, is behind the camera. He is the CEO, and he will be providing information on how to constitute the Institute, should you have questions or anything of that nature. Like any other preacher today, I'm going to address the issue of black violence. And this in the wake of the Ferguson incident and, of course, the New York incident as well. We all know what happened. We saw it, we heard it, and my goodness, we certainly read it. Now, what I want to address today is black on black violence. Some of you are not going to enjoy it, but that's my job. God has sent me as a watchman. And I'm not going to, as I said in one of my other broadcasts, I'm not going to have your blood on my hands and have to answer for it. I've got to tell you, the storm is coming again. I am an older gentleman, as you probably have figured out by now. I had the combination blessing and curse of living through the civil rights era. I grew up under Jim Crow law. My paternal grandmother was a slave, or I don't know about my maternal grandmother, but my paternal grandmother was. And right at the end of going up toward 1865, what we used to call the Big War, I was one of the first people involved in school desegregation in the 50s and 60s in Blytheville, Arkansas. Well, I don't need anyone to tell me what somebody said in a book. I don't need anybody's film documentary. I lived through it, and by the grace of God, I'm now living today in this era as well. And I'm here to tell you this morning, folks, we're going backwards, and we've got to stop. Now, I feel that what happened in Ferguson as well as New York, it was inhuman. I believe it was illegal. I believe it was a disgrace before God and man. But it is what it is, folks, and we have to live with it. I grew up in a time where we were taught, not just me, but all of us if you wanted to survive. I grew up in a time when you were taught not to look a white man in the eye. I grew up in a time where you were raised and taught, stay away from white women. For those of you who think that this is absurd today because of the intercourse and interplay of various races today, I would ask that you simply look back at the Emmett Till incident. I lived during that time, and I know firsthand of what I speak. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you may not understand because it's simply complex. Let me say it again. It is simply complex. I want to make a statement right now, and I need for you to understand what it is I'm saying clearly. Number one, white people today have a subconscious fear of black people. Hear me out. When I say it is a subconscious fear, it's based on the fact that we keep killing each other. So, when you see the police act as we've seen several incidents lately, not just New York and not just in Ferguson, but almost anywhere, they are operating with a very, very high fear context, subconsciously speaking. Meaning, the big thing on their minds It's subconscious now. So don't hear what I'm saying today and run out and think every white folk that you run, or white brother or sister that you run upon is scared of you. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm talking en masse, the white race in general and its relationship to the black race in general. Folks, white people subconsciously wonder what would happen if we stop killing each other and start killing them. They look at the statistics every Sunday morning, like we do. Any city you want to name in the United States, and I'm not just talking about the big cities, you can go down to somewhere in Mississippi or Texas or anywhere else, and every week you got black folks killing black folks. That is the problem. Now, common sense tells these people if you kill each other, you will certainly kill other people. And though we as a race have never been hostile, and I'm speaking in mass now, I'm not, so don't go tell me about your Uncle Harry who didn't like white people and all that. I'm talking about in mass, the entire race in general, the race thought of black people towards each other. When other races look at this, they ask, why do we kill each other? And I lay that question before you. Why do we kill each other? And it is a subconscious, very real fear that white people hold subconsciously, I can't say that enough now. What would happen if black people, at the rate we kill each other, what would happen if we started killing other people outside our race? That motivates a lot of the anger in the policemen when you see them fire at a black man 10 times, 8 times, 7 times, when it doesn't take that. That's that fear. They're trying to send a message to the rest of the black community. We will kill you. And unfortunately, the systems of justice that we've seen with this hybrid thing they call the grand jury, which we really have got to address that issue. I'm sure that there are going to be some changes there. The way that it acts as a barrier to taking these policemen to court to stand before their peers to be found innocent or guilty. The Grand Lodge in both these, the Grand Jury in both these scenarios acted as a buffer and literally stopped those cases from going to court where it could be tried in the public eye. And it was all done legal. And there's not a whole lot we can do about it under the current system, but I do believe there'll be some changes in that scenario. Now, let me tell you about us. You're not gonna like it, but somebody's gonna have to do it. In Chicago, I got a report a week or so back, and I think this is a week right after the Ferguson, no, this was right after the New York Grand Jury handed down its verdict that there was not enough evidence against the police officers who choked the man to death, black man to death. In the city of Chicago, that following Saturday, an incident took place in the black community that has haunted me. 2 or 3 or 4 young blacks, all 16, 17 years old, 16, 17, 18, something to that effect. You can get the story yourself, the facts and figures. I may be off, so don't nobody go suing me or nothing. I'm speaking in general. At any rate, there were 2 black boys. They were twins, twin brothers. Long story short, the 4 other black youth attempted to rob them to take one of the twins' jacket. It escalated and they killed one of the boys. Now, I don't know if they have these young fellows in custody yet or not. I haven't followed deeply from that. But that's what led to this message that I'm bringing you today. I began to wonder, why are we killing each other? And I prayed on it and I asked God to give me a revelation of that I might bring it to you through our institute. Well, folks, I went back to the Bible, led by the Holy Ghost, and I went back to the flood of Noah, which has been proven scientifically and archaeologically to have taken place. Now, you can argue with me on that if you want to, because there's plenty of proof that it took place. So you can look it up, Google it, or whatever you want to do. Go to your scientific journals, if you will. However, when we read from the Bible, in Genesis, how do I want to put this? The commands of God to the humans after the flood. One of the things God says in Genesis is that he who sheds innocent blood should be put to death. You would call that the death penalty. Now, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Folks, God said you need to kill these people. Now, that's what you got a jury for. They go to trial. If they found guilty of shedding another human's blood, it would be in line with what God ordained, and it would be in line with the justice system. When you say, well, what about if somebody's innocent? Well, that's what you got DNA now for. And that stuff there, they're telling me, and as I understand, is a pretty good indicator, a great tool in sorting out guilt in certain cases. All right? Is it going to be perfect? I doubt it. But it's a real alternative. You say, why is that an alternative, preacher? I'm going to tell you why. Will it stop all the killing in the black community? No, of course not. But will it greatly reduce it? Yes. And I'll tell you why. If those 4 young boys who killed the other black teenager, all of them under 20, for a fact they're under 20, they committing these crimes, you know what they're thinking? And now don't play with me like you don't know what I'm talking about if you're black and you're listening to this broadcast. For some crazy reason or another, them young fellas, black fellas out there, got the idea that going to jail is some type of goddamn rite of passage to manhood. Yeah, you heard what I said. If you don't believe me, then you know what? You're not really want to look at the truth. Here's what's happened. I had the good fortune to work as a county sheriff in another time, another part of my life. I worked at a county jail, and I know firsthand what it was like. Well, let me tell you something that might shock you. The majority of these young blacks today don't mind going to jail. Because one, they're going to get good food, decent food. They're going to get proper medical care, health care, dental care. They're going to get some access to computer. Some. Do not jump on my institute talking about I said that everybody goes to jail gets a computer. I'm not saying that. I said that they, in some places, have access to computer. It's no secret that a lot of young fellows go in jail and they will begin through the library. They will begin to read and hence kindle the flame to want to be something when they come out. Or want to go back to school. At any rate, the thing that really works, all the problems in jail. Cousin Leroy is in jail. So going to jail is going to jail. But I'm going to tell you something that would change a lot of them's mind. Out of them 4 young boys that killed the other black boy last Saturday for last in the city of Chicago, if they knew that they stand a danger of going to jail, but not to stay but going to jail to die, if found guilty, it would change some of them's mind. It would change some of them who want to go out here and stick up people. It would change their mind about taking that gun along. If it's 4 of you, and then you're going to go out there and stick up somebody, it's 4 to 1, pretty good chance they could still stick up somebody, take what they want, because it's 4 to 1, whatever the case may be, 4 to 2. But when you got that gun in your pocket, the minute you pick it up and leave your house, you're going to go out and do something crazy. That gun is meant to kill. Don't tell me nothing else about it. That gun is meant to kill. Now, you go out here and you got that gun in your pocket, and you decide you want to take somebody's jacket, take somebody's coat, get out there and things get out of hand, and you wind up killing somebody. Well, you need to be subject to law, unjury, found guilty, and then you need to be executed. I mentioned Genesis because God said, do it, which brings me to another problem. You didn't know that, did you? It's in the book of Genesis. These are some of the issues that God gave Noah when he come off that boat. Also, just as an aside, to let you know what I'm talking about, he also ordained at that point it was okay to eat meat. Did you know that? These are instructions that God gave to Noah when he come off that boat and told them, Noah, his 3 sons and wives, to be fruitful and multiply, to replenish the earth. The death penalty is issued by God himself. It's God's law, folks. Now, you say, well, so much could go wrong. Yes, some of it will go wrong. But I'm still weighing that against the fact that if a lot of these people running around here killing each other on Saturday night over some woman or some kind of pride, ego thing, the thought that if I kill this fool, I'm subject to be put to death with a lethal injection. And I'm going to tell you something else. Since we're talking, and I feel like making you mad now, because I'm getting mad, I'd like to see them bring old Sparky back. Do you know who old Sparky is? Electric chair. When I worked as a county sheriff, the electric chair was still operational. I have seen the electric chair. I never wanted to see an execution done, but I did want to see what that chair looked like. Horrible thing, horrible thing. And don't tell me it wouldn't act as a deterrent. Now I want you to consider it. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about why the death penalty was removed. I know you're going to tell me, well, because a lot of innocent people would then be destroyed. That may happen. We're going to have to trust the justice system, and the trial by jury appears to handle that. Now, folks, the real thrust behind removing the electric chair, removing lethal injections, removing the death penalty, was one damn reason. You know what that was? Money. Economics. Are you aware of what it takes to run a prison? Are you aware of the cost of maintaining a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old person locked up for life on murder charges? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, the average expectancy of life, even in jail, is going to be at least another 40, in some cases 50 years. Taxpayers support the prisons. Taxpayers support the county jails. You do. How about if I say it like that? But who makes a profit? Come on, don't worry in front of me. Little towns all over America are vying, competing to get a prison in or near their location. Why? Because it means good, permanent jobs. I think you didn't hear what I said. Yes, it does. It makes good, permanent jobs, which then draws in commerce. Little town, 20, 30,000 people, they get a prison on the outskirts of that town. First of all, you gotta have correctional officers. You gotta have administrative officers. Then, now here comes where the money really comes in. Every prison has to be run according to state law. Every prisoner has to be guaranteed food, clean shelter, and some access to medical care. How about a haircut? You ever thought about that? How much do you think, say, a penal institution is capable of holding 6, 7, 8,000 inmates, max. And say it's an all-male prison. How would you like to have a contract of cutting hair at that particular prison? How would you like to have a single contract just for you and your little barber shop? Big money. How would you like to have a contract of doing the laundry? Fellow, oh, no, I know what you're going to tell me. You've seen too many motion pictures. The prisoners do their own laundry in some cases, but not in all cases. Well, how would you like to be the electrician that maintains the lighting, the air conditioning, the heating? These are contracts, folks. These make tremendous profits for people that do it. So, it wasn't all humanitarian. It wasn't all good, warm, fuzzy, hard-filled feelings that we want to stop the death penalty. It was a motive factor involved in it. It was a profit factor involved in that too. Now, I hope I got your attention. Let's look at a serious problem that I really want to address today, and that problem is preachers. See, what I just told you, what God said from the book of Genesis to Noah, your preacher ought to be, or your pastor should be telling you that. Now, every time somebody gets killed, I see you marching, and now I see you got the practice of the next day, you're going out there with the spot there, putting flowers and stuff down, and all this kind of can on. I see the preachers out here in the street leading marches. One city I saw in the paper a week or two ago after the Ferguson grand jury ruled, and they're doing this dying thing. And so one major city, I'm not going to name it, in the United States, all of the local black clergy, or most of the black clergy, they got together. I'm talking the preachers, the pastors, and the deacons, the major clergy, and held a dying from the various churches in that community of that city in the United States, which shall remain anonymous. I looked at the picture of these pastors, these preachers, these deacons laying down in a dead pose to go on the thing, and I thought to myself, that ain't what God wants preachers to do. You want me to say it again? I can do better than that. I can take you to the book of Acts and show you where God ordained by the Holy Spirit for the church to set aside men to handle the upkeep and the welfare of the church. More important, it was ordained that preachers preach the gospel. If you are a person on the sound of my voice, male or female, and God has called you to preach, I didn't say pastor, but called you to preach. But then I suggest you preach. I'm saying it, and don't care if you don't like it. If preachers would do what they're supposed to do, that would help the bodies. Because you tell them what God said. And more important than anything in the world, you would point them to Jesus the Christ. Now let me tell you something before you go think I'm tooting Jesus' horn here, because I am #1 fan of the man from Galilee. Make no mistake. Now, I want to take you back to slavery. Oh, you don't remember that, do you? See, that's another problem black people got. My favorite philosopher, Santayanta, made a statement that is echoed down through the misty vistas of the years when he said, those who forget the past are condemned to relive the past. And I told you at the top of this broadcast that I lived through the civil rights era. Don't tell me nothing about what you read Medgar Evers said. Don't tell me nothing about what you read Martin Luther King said. I was within 60 miles of Memphis, Tennessee, the night Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. or the morning. I was a contemporary. And let me tell you, what I'm seeing today, when I saw the pictures of them choking that black man in New York, when I saw the pictures of them shooting that boy, well, I take that back. I'd like to see the video of the shooting in Ferguson. But when I got what repeated photograph that did come through like everybody else, it was a flashback for me. I've seen that so much in my lifetime, folks. I thought we was beyond that as a people. But one of the problems is our young folks don't care nothing about slavery. One of the things that I love about my Jewish brothers and sisters, yes, I do, I just love them to death. One of the things that I love about my Jewish brothers and sisters, they will tell you concerning that Holocaust that Mr. Adolf Hitler decided to run through on them. They will tell you, and they will certainly remind you in their synagogues of this one phrase that they've coined. I love it to death. They say, we will not forget. Meaning that they will not forget what was done to them in Germany during World War II and going toward the end of it. When the rest of the world, you damn right I said the rest of the world, stood back and watched. Hitler broadcast what he was going to do starting in 1929, 30, 31, 32, and so on. Hitler at one point was locked up in jail when he wrote Mein Kampf and told them that he was going to kill these people. Great Britain. And that's where you goddamn with sunny guys, excuse my language, that's when you goddamn with sunny guys running around waving some shit, talking about you got it from the white grand lodge in England, like you somebody. Now, folks ain't nothing. Now, the whole world stood by and watched what happened to the Jews till it got to a point where, hey, you know what? Hitler for real, he's gonna take over the whole world. That's all he did about to start fighting. As long as he was just killing up Jews and snatching Poland and Czechoslovakia in his blitzkrieg, did you know other people in the world that looked at that, Britain especially? And you got to give Mr. Churchill his dues on this. Mr. Churchill came in office as minister, telling me, we got to stop this man, because we're going to be next. So, I said that to say this. The Jewish people will not forget what they've been through. And that's why Israel is militarily postured as they are today. They're ready. They ain't going that way no more. Y'all need to be like that, black folks. You're slipping right back into darkness. I think there was a group called War. You know, I was a young man one time too. Now, don't forget that. War was my favorite too, along with people. But anyway, we're slipping back into darkness, people, because we don't remember. My generation, around my age time, we wrong, y'all. We were so busy giving our kids, the young black kids, we were so busy giving them what we didn't have, we forgot to give them what we did have. And I'm going to sit here right now and tell you what we had that brought us through slavery, and it was a man called Jesus. I come from a time when every house you went to that was black, they had a Bible in there somewhere. And 9 out of 10 times it was setting up on that mantelpiece, or it was setting up on that table, or it was hanging on one of them pictures or hanging on the wall. But Jesus was somewhere in that house. What you said to that? Think I'm lying? If you got a grandmama, ask me. No, I can't say that now, because y'all nowadays, y'all got grandmamas that's 38 years old. We ain't gonna go into that. But the point I'm making is, in the darkest time, for us as a people in this country, which was slavery, which our kids don't even care to think, which is being rewritten right in front of our eyes because we don't care to protect that heritage. I bet you the Jewish people see to it that it is forever documented correctly what Hitler did to them, what the world did to them. But we want to forget it. Oh, it's okay. That's why the affirmative action and whatnot, what have you, is being repealed and reversed right in front of your eyes now. You sitting up buying this damn argument that the white kid says, because your granddad, my granddad enslaved your granddaddy, I didn't do it, so why are you doing this to me? Damn it, we doing it because the field ain't level. They know that, but we're giving up more ground. So now consequently, I'm telling you a solution. A solution is for our preachers. A solution is for our pastors to get their asses, yeah, I said it, like a jackass. And God incidentally allowed the jackass to speak and forbade the madness of the prophet. Now, if you read the Bible, you know damn well what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Balaam and that jackass when he went to curse Israel. Even a jackass told a man on food to people. Same thing that God did for us through Jesus Christ and slavery. Folks, when they were making us fatten and take care of, I was there, fatten and take care of their hogs and come up hog slaughtering time, they got the best of that hog. And whatever was left, they threw it out and told us it's yours. And you know what you came up with? You came up with pig feet, pig toe, pig tail, pig brain, ham hearts, and my favorite, chitlins. And let me tell you another damn thing. Yes, sir, it's profanity laced because somebody needs to cuss you. Because it's not going to get no better. They're going to keep shooting your kids as long as your kids keep shooting each other. Why should they care anything about you if you don't care anything about yourself, folks? And don't tell me don't tell me nothing about no economics. Don't tell me none of that mess you telling me about the environment. Don't tell me nothing about how the southern don't have shit. We didn't have no environment in slavery. We didn't have no economics in slavery. We didn't have no nothing in slavery. But yet we had a man called Jesus. Did you understand what I said? The old song used to play said that my grandmama was a praying lady. We used to go in that prayer closet and get a prayer through. You understand what I'm talking about? I come from a family of 16 kids, 11 boys and 5 girls, and we all done all right. One thing we were taught was the difference in right and wrong, because the Bible says so. Can you understand that? Solution. 1, preachers, get your behinds back up in them churches and preach the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. Folks, get your behinds out of them dead-ass churches that's preaching nothing but healing, preaching nothing but prosperity, and get your butt somewhere where you can hear the good news of Jesus Christ. You got plenty of people on the internet, plenty of people on television. You know what I'm talking about. You go to church on Sunday, don't get a darn thing out of what's happening there. But you come right back every day of the week, you're reading your daily word. You tuning in to one or two of the better Christian preachers on these networks. You know what? You're putting your tithes in churches and ain't getting a darn thing from God, except the building fund. Huh? Look at your preachers now. Every other week I'm hearing about one of them going to jail for either running through the women in the church like there's a hen house, or he done stole enough money with Mercedes and houses and going on. Folks, listen to what I'm talking about. You putting your women can't get your husbands to go to church because he know the preacher is pimping, instead of preaching the word of God. Now, if you want to get mad at me, you go ahead and get mad at me. But I want you to be man or woman enough to step back and look at us as a people. Don't just be looking at Bill Cosby and this Billy, he got his set of problems now too, don't he? Only with them white folks ain't it? Every one of them women that I've seen now. So don't go tell me, I said Bill Cosby and the white women. I'm telling you what the media is giving me like it's giving you. All them old white women coming out now, he did this or he did that. And it's irrelevant whether he did it or not. But I'm telling you, I come from the time they told us there were no people. We was a better people than y'all. No, we didn't have no money. We didn't have no executive sitting on the board of Budweiser. No, we didn't have no football player making $180 million a week. But I'll tell you what we did have. We had love for one another. Miss Hillary Rodham Clinton ball rolled our phrase. A village raises a child. But see, we want to forget that. We don't want to look back at what we went through. We want to sit today and talk about, oh no, I don't eat pork because of high blood pressure. Well, I'm not saying it don't get high blood pressure today with the ingredients that's put in food, the preservatives, etc. I agree with you. I think there is some danger in that now. But I'm talking about back when they first slaughtered that hog in them hog guts, right there in a pound on the ground, and women come out there and men and hit that hog in the head with an axe, a double-headed axe blade, and then gutted it and pulled all that meat out of there. And the good meat went to the smokehouse for the white man, and the rest of it, the guts, the feet, the heads, the brain, went to us. And we were stronger. We was healthy. Bad cold didn't knock you down like it knocked you down now. And then most of all, we didn't have a drugstore up on the corner of the green card where every time you sneezed, you felt you had to go see the doctor and let him hook you on some prescription. I said hook you on prescription drugs. You go out there now, you look at a woman's purse, she got every kind of medication on the sun. Back where I come from, a time when folks knew Jesus, you know what you did for that? You prayed. We was a praying people. We wasn't caught up in a theological dissertation and questioning about is Jesus God or whatever. Is God Jesus or the Immaculate Conception? All we didn't worry about that. All we knew was Jesus. He'll get you through. We used to sing songs like, walk with me, Lord. You walk with my mother, walk with me. I'm going to tell you again what you do. Number one, preachers, go back to preaching the gospel. God put you in the pulpit to preach, not to walk out here on the street and lead nobody no civil rights march. I know you think that's a wonderful thing, but folks, that ain't the answer for preachers. Preachers are people that God has chosen and set aside to do one thing: preach what he said preach. Preach that Bible to you. And if you live by what that Bible said, and if that man or that woman is called a God preacher, and you do what they say, I guarantee you, God will put a hedge around you, won't nobody touch you or your children. I don't care if they got to walk through 9 zones in the morning to go to school. Ain't nobody going to bother. Do you hear what I say? You don't need an FOI card. You need yourself a pair of Walgreens or Walmart reading glasses, and you need to set your butt down and read that Bible. So that when you go to church on Sunday, that man or woman that's standing up there preaching is going to preach what you done read. Instead, half of you won't even look at your Bible. So you sit up in the church and let them folks telling you don't know if they tell you the truth or a lie. Paul said, study to show yourself approved. Preachers, go back to preaching. God got people that handle protests. God got lawyers and administrators to handle other issues of that. But we need to go back to having our man or woman who can get a prize for us as a people. They did that for us and abolished through slavery. Not that. Those of you fortunate enough to get some people in your family that's 60, 70, 80 years old. Go ask them what life is like. And folks, we hit it the same way again because we have forgotten where we came from. We have forgotten that it was Jesus, Jesus, and our faith in him. Brought us through many things. You think they're shooting that ball on that sidewalk new? To this generation, maybe it is. Folks, there was a time when the preachers and the deacons would lynch people and would lynch black people on Friday night in the whole town, the whole lynch mob sitting in church on Sunday, including the preacher. Been there? Seen that. And I'm looking at it again. And the solution then is the solution now. Jesus. Get your preachers to preach. Preachers, you go back to preaching. Jesus is the answer. Now, I hope you take that to heart. I hope you look in Genesis and see that I ain't selling snake oil. I hope you will. Pray. And most of all, put Jesus back as the head of your house. This is Reverend Leroy Stewart, the Institute of Christian and Masonic Studies. I hope that you will get some feedback on it, but most of all, I hope you'll pray and ask God if he told me to tell you that, and see what he tell you. Once again, this is Reverend Leroy Stewart, Institute of Christian and Masonic Studies. Follow-up information to be brought to you by my son and CEO, Leroy Stewart Jr. And thank you.